I dare all of you not to cry.
Well, we're sadly at the end of the season, but man, what a great finale. As always, I'm Al, this is the Geek in Review. I'm going to be talking about Orville, New Horizons, Season 3, Episode 10, so if you haven't seen it by now, this will contain spoilers. And yeah, man, this episode had the heart that the rest of the show has been missing over the season. If you've watched any of my previous reviews, you know what I'm talking about, and if not, like and subscribe, and you can do that now. Yeah, let's get it out the way. We do get another old character slash backstory, but it's much more. In fact, it's completely the B plot here, much to the point where it feels like it's sort of been forced in like an afterthought, but I'll get to that in a second. And we got a lot more music this episode as well, and yeah, did we need that? I'm going to get to that at the end of the review. But yeah, I loved this episode, and I wonder why they kept it till season 10. Because everyone gets something to do in this episode, pretty much. We even get some old faces. But what's the setup, I hear you ask? Well, it's sort of an Isaac episode, but not really, because again, it focuses on the entire crew. He's decided to propose to Claire, and it's a bit of a unique proposal because he says, I'm not just agreeing to be with you, you're going to age and I'm not, so what's going to happen here is I'll look after all your descendants for as long as I'm around, which is a pretty overwhelming offer. And I did like the scenes with Kelly and Kiali and Claire and then Ed walking in. We've missed that all this season. And I like the fact that Lamar suggested to Isaac that he play the field a little bit, because Claire's going to play, am I right? But I missed one bit out. Before all this, they have to go to a Mocklin sort of marriage renewal ceremony now that Bortus and Clyde are back together, so that's what puts the idea of the proposal into Isaac's head. And I've been saying it for a while now, but we're seeing too much of the Mocklins in this show, and man, do you ever see too much of the Mocklins in this episode. And it kind of suggests that it's going to be a Kiali thing and she's going to get her own story because she's going down to a planet, because she's not had too much to do this season other than Lamar, am I right? But no, it's not that at all. That's just to sort of set up the B storyline and bring back the character of Lysella. So yeah, they bring back Lysella. If you don't remember, that's absolutely fine. I didn't straight away. It was the one where they went to the planet that had like the sort of badges with the voting sort of comment on social media with the whole Lamar Prime Directive, and she wants asylum, so it's a bit like Saru in Star Trek, where she wants to leave her sort of primitive planet to come and join the bigger universe and the Union. And this is going to play a bit of a big deal in this episode, not as much as the rest of the story. Again, it feels a little bit forced into me. But yeah, we've got a marriage, we've got the future of a lot of couples on the ship, including Ed and Kelly. And then we've got this sort of old returning character coming back. Now, I'm probably going to do a video on this separately, but I think my main criticism of this season is going to be the returning to previous story or character arcs, because while it's good once or twice, they've done it far more than they haven't this season, and as the season felt a little bit dependent on it, from the writing point of view, absolutely. While it's good to revisit old stories and check up and build the universe, we don't need it every week. But yeah, that's just one little gripe. I would say this is my favourite episode of the season, but I can't really do that because it doesn't have the seriousness or the sort of sci-fi-ness of the rest of the season. But with a wedding to set up, we got all the humour that we haven't got throughout the show. We get Gordon back to his absolute best. We get him arguing with Bortus about being best man for the wedding. We get Claire chewing out Lamar and Isaac inviting the entire Kalon race to the reception. And man, every comedy beat lands and hits in this episode. The rest of the season, it just felt like they were maybe putting in one or two jokes at the start of an episode to get it out of the way, but here, this is definitely what it feels like for a life aboard ship episode, which I think I said in my review last week or the week before is what this show needed, and I'm glad that it delivered, man, because As good as this episode has been, seeing these characters deal with these heavy moral decisions every week, sometimes for me it can be a little bit draining, and sometimes it's not exactly fun. So yeah, I liked that there was no sort of end of the world, end of the universe, we're all going to die story arc here. It was just them sort of all going about their life while this wedding's getting set up. And what do you do before the wedding? We call it a stag do here, but you call it a bachelor do if you're in the US, and you have a hen do or a bachelorette do as well. And man, when I knew that they were doing the Isaac marriage thing, I thought, I wonder what they're going to do for each stag do. And Bortus doing karaoke has been a sort of running joke throughout the 3 seasons of this show, and he finally delivers in only the way that he can deliver. And if you've seen it, you know what I mean, and if you've not, I'm not going to play the audio, but I'm just going to put a clip up on screen. But yeah, the stag do and the hen do stuff moments were exactly what I'd expect from the first 2 seasons of the Orville, and it's good to get the comedy back. It's refreshing. Like I say, almost everyone apart from Kiali gets something to do in this episode, and it really reminded me of the first 2 seasons. And we also get Halston Sage back as Alara. McFarlane decided to bring the ex back the week after he killed his girlfriend on the show, so make of that what you will. But yeah, my main criticism of the finale is that the Lycia B storyline didn't feel like it really fitted in until it did. The big why can't you make my world better with your future tech question, so she's going to steal some shit, and she does, and Kelly shows her the big union mistake that they made sharing tech with a world in the past that was basically destroyed. So yeah, it made sense, but it didn't really feel like it was a structured fit or land in this episode. If the character, I should say the actress that was playing Lycia, if I didn't recognise her or remember her because she was in the Punisher TV show, I would have completely forgotten who this character was, because I actually forgot the actress was in the Orville, if I'm being honest. This episode does feel a bit of the odd one out among the rest of the 9 in the season, just because of the comedy, and I couldn't stop thinking of why could you not just pepper like 5 or 10% of this throughout every episode. Understand, maybe not every episode, but why did they decide to hold all the comedy and the laughs and all the things that we're familiar with till episode 10? To me, it doesn't make sense. But you know what, I don't care, because again, most of the episodes this season have been pretty hard hitters that have delivered, and have maybe relied too much on old storylines at times, and this one doesn't really do it. It's just fun. Every episode this season, let's say, has been a pretty heavy hard hitter when it comes to a message, apart from episode 2, relying too much on maybe older stories and characters at times, and this one doesn't really do it. It's just a fun life aboard ship episode, what is exactly what I said I wanted to see, and it makes you feel good again. All the cast are here, and they all get something to do this week, and to be honest, I wish there was a lot more of it in this season. This didn't feel like nearly an hour and a half. The B plot didn't feel important, it didn't add anything to me, and I was surprised that they didn't lean into this as much as they usually did this season. To be honest, it wasn't a memorable character from a memorable episode. But the big question is, now that we've got to the end of season 3 in this new format on the new streaming service Hulu for the Orville, is this the end? McFarlane going to go out on his own terms? It felt like everything's wrapped up here from a point of view when it comes to the show, apart from the storyline about Ed's daughter. That's just kind of been forgotten about. But if this show comes to an end, I can't say I'd be entirely disappointed if this was the last episode. Let's say everything's tied up in a bow, or at the very least has a ring on it. But I would like to see more of these characters. I know that Seth MacFarlane has got a few other projects in the mix, so I'm not sure where the Orville is coming to as a priority. But yeah, what did you think of this episode? Did you think it felt like a little bit of an odd one out compared to the sort of tonal differences in the other 9? Were you glad to see the comedy back? And would you be happy if this was the final episode of the Orville ever? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Oh, and like and subscribe as well.